He just wanted a cup of coffee to survive another lonely morning, but her silence, her empty eyes, and the smile she refused to wear, changed his life forever. It was 7:06 a.m. when David Keller pushed open the door to the tiny roadside diner just outside his small hometown in Oregon. His eyes were bloodshot, his button-up shirt wrinkled from falling asleep in it, again. Behind him, in the old Dodge parked just outside, his 6-year-old daughter Ellie slept with her head slumped against a stuffed unicorn. The booth by the window was always his. Not because it was reserved, but because no one else ever came this early except truckers passing through, and David had made a habit of being early. It was his quiet hour before school drop-offs, daycare calls, bills, job applications, and the never-ending ache of trying to replace what was lost. Across the diner, a young waitress moved slowly between tables. Her name tag read Amy. She was in her mid-20s, probably younger, with brown hair pulled into a loose bun and eyes that looked like they hadn't known peace in years. David noticed something odd. She never smiled. Not at anyone. Not even when an old man cracked a joke about coffee being stronger than his third marriage. Not even when a baby laughed at her apron buttons. Her expression never changed, numb, blank, almost mechanical. He watched her bring coffee to his table. No good morning. No eye contact. Just a pour, and a tired sigh. David was a man who'd been broken too. His wife had died in a car crash 2 years ago. One rainy Thursday, a truck ran a red light, and she was gone before he could say goodbye. Since then, David had lived in a fog, holding on to Ellie with one arm and pulling himself through the days with the other. But still, he smiled. He forced it, for Ellie, for himself. So, on this particular morning, something in him couldn't stay quiet. As Amy turned to walk away, he asked softly, almost like a whisper against the hum of the coffee machine. "Why don't you ever smile?" Amy froze. Her shoulders tensed, and for a second, she looked like she might not respond at all. Then slowly, without turning around, she said, "Because it feels like lying." And with that, she walked away. David sat there stunned. It wasn't the words. It was the weight behind them, the kind of sorrow he recognized. He'd heard it in his own voice, seen it in the mirror. The question haunted him all day. Why would someone so young carry that kind of darkness? He came back the next morning. And the next. And slowly, across those silent mornings, over coffee and polite small talk, David started to peel back the layers of Amy's guarded world. But nothing could have prepared him for the truth. It had been nearly 3 weeks since that first conversation. David and Amy were no longer strangers, but not quite friends either. There was something unspoken between them, a shared heaviness. Trauma recognizes trauma. David learned she worked double shifts. She walked home late. She lived in a cramped apartment behind the laundromat. No family. No visitors. But he still didn't know what had broken her. Until one rainy Wednesday. Ellie had fallen asleep in the booth with crayons in her hand. David stayed late, sipping coffee he didn't need. Amy walked by, and he asked again, more gently this time. "Amy, you don't have to smile for me. But can I ask, what happened?" She sat across from him. The first time she'd ever done that. And then, she told him. His name was Liam. My baby boy. He was 3. He used to make everyone laugh, he used to bring me dandelions from the sidewalk cracks. One night, I was late getting home from work. My mom was watching him. A fire started in the kitchen, faulty wiring. By the time I got there, it was too late. I held his toy truck in my hands while they took his body away. I haven't smiled since. Because, what kind of mother smiles after that? David couldn't breathe. His heart felt like it had stopped. He reached across the table and took her hand. Not as a man comforting a woman, but as 2 broken souls anchoring each other in a storm neither had chosen. No words. Just silence. But in that silence, he gave her something she hadn't had in a long time, understanding without judgment. That night, he drove home with Ellie sleeping in the back seat, and he cried for a child he never met. He cried for Amy. For the pain that had stolen her smile. But something had shifted. From that day, Amy didn't smile, but she spoke. She laughed, softly, once. She started drawing on Ellie's napkins. And then, weeks later, on Ellie's birthday, she came out with a cupcake and a single candle. And she smiled. Just once. It wasn't a full smile. It was cracked, small, trembling. But it was real. David knew then. Sometimes healing doesn't come all at once. Sometimes, it starts with someone caring enough to ask, "Why don't you smile?" We pass strangers every day, at cafes, stores, sidewalks. And we forget, everyone carries a story. A scar behind their silence. A wound behind their stillness. All it takes is a moment. A question. A little kindness. And sometimes, that's enough to bring someone back from the dark.